Caitlin Clark's journey in the league keeps getting more compelling, and somehow it improves every time critics try to tear her down. The more doubt people throw at her, the bigger her spotlight becomes. She's now drawing crowds of over 16,000 fans per game, and nearly every arena she steps into is completely sold out. High-profile celebrities are showing up courtside just to watch her play, and ticket prices have skyrocketed to nearly $2,000 for premium seats. That's a massive contrast to the league's typical attendance, which usually sits around 5,000 fans per game, and sometimes even that number feels inflated when you look at the empty seats on television. Even though she was left off Team USA, Caitlin's rise is impossible to ignore. Her influence is obvious, and it's lifting everyone around her as her team pushes for its 8th straight championship. Building the strongest possible roster has never been more important, and Caitlin is clearly central to that mission. She's showing she's ready to lead. Recently, she recorded her first triple-double, a milestone she had narrowly missed in previous games, sometimes falling just 1 or 2 rebounds short. Even more impressive, she became the first rookie in history to average 15 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists per game. That alone silences a lot of critics. And then there's the player who signed a major shoe deal and immediately began criticizing Caitlin. Now, though, it's obvious Caitlin prefers to let her performance do the talking, and the results speak loudly. As for the Super Bowl comment, they had already beaten that team 3 times, so naturally the opponent wasn't about to accept a 4th loss without a fight.
This is our Super Bowl game. I mean, we've beaten them 3 times this year already. We knew they were going to come into this game really hungry, and it's tough to beat a team 4 times.
I want to pick up where we left off and talk about everything new that's unfolding,
from where we stopped,
because with this group, there's always another headline every single day. Recently, I watched a guy break down the numbers and explain what's really happening behind the scenes. His take was simple.
There's always something new every day.
There's no need to justify yourself. He said what he said, and that's it. No over-explaining, no backtracking, just facts.
He said a lot. Ticket sales grew in 2023 by 16% from 2022. Ticket sales have grown by 93% in 2024. The WNBA had grown by 40% viewership. But with Caitlin Clark's arrival, it's grown by 400% viewership. She did in 5 weeks what would have taken 5 years.
When the strike happened, I saw the numbers explode, jumping from 16% to 100%, and from 40% to an unbelievable 4,000%. Before that, growth had been stagnant. Then she arrived, and within just a few weeks, the entire landscape shifted. Changes that had taken others 3 decades to accomplish happened almost overnight. Suddenly, 16,000 people were tuning in, and more than 6,000 fans were showing up just to watch her play. They even had to relocate some games to a larger arena because ticket sales exceeded all expectations. It's honestly wild that anyone thought a small high school gym would be enough to hold that kind of crowd. What were they thinking? This wasn't some minor event, it was huge. When you're selling 20,000 tickets, you plan accordingly. In my previous video, I didn't get the chance to mention some former WNBA players who also weighed in. But recently, I came across one former player whose comments caught my attention. I figured you'd find it interesting too. To be fair, she pointed out that during her playing days, which were decades ago, the environment was completely different.
I am the hidden figure, but no longer now. My record was hidden from everyone for 43 years. 43 years. I don't think, I'll just go ahead and get the elephant out of the room. I don't think my record has been broken because you can't duplicate what you're not duplicating. And so unless you come with a men's basketball and a 2-point shot, hey.
Back then, that was simply how things operated. She held a record for 40 years for consistently making 2-point shots, yet it barely received recognition. The bigger point here is this. Instead of rushing to criticize without offering any positivity, remember that you don't owe Caitlin anything. It's your life, and she's never done anything personally for you. At the same time, no one really knew about your record until now, and now it's been surpassed. It's okay to acknowledge that it stood strong for 4 decades and say, good for her. I'm glad she had the opportunity to break it. You can also mention that the circumstances were different. There was no 3-point line back then, and the games were played using men's basketball standards. That context matters. But recognizing differences doesn't mean diminishing her accomplishment. You don't even have to shower her with praise, just be measured and respectful. As for Sheryl Swoopes, a name I had heard before but didn't know much about, she's widely regarded as one of the greatest WNBA players ever. She made some controversial remarks about Caitlyn, which honestly didn't surprise many people. It seems that some veteran players struggle to hold back their opinions. Here's what she said.
Just for Caitlyn, but you asked me about Caitlyn. If you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that that player set it.
Okay.
But because there's a COVID year and then there's another year, you know what I mean? So she's already had an extra year to break that record. So is it truly a broken record?
She claimed it took over 100 games, maybe 120, of shooting three-pointers to reach that milestone, and now people are saying it happened in 13 fewer games. She also brought up the idea that Caitlyn had an extra year because of COVID. Sheryl Swoopes even stated that Caitlyn continued playing until she was 25 years old. But wait a second, that's simply not true. Caitlyn isn't even 25 yet. She was drafted at 22, and this is her rookie season. She's still just 22 years old. So where
She's
is
not
that
even
information
25
coming
yet.
from? At this point, it feels like some critics are just making things up.
That's not true.
Another player also
got
spoke
drafted
about
at-
Caitlyn, and somehow I missed that one earlier. She's a current
She's still
WNBA
22,
player who
not
appeared
25.
on Gilbert Arenas' Agent Zero podcast. During the conversation,
They're just making
she
stuff
addressed
up at
Ice
this
Cube's
point.
reported $5
Another
million offer for Caitlyn to join the Big Three League. As I mentioned
Two.
before, the Big
She's a
Three is a
WNBA
3-on-3
player.
basketball league featuring former NBA players or professionals who now
Rose
play
podcast.
overseas.
And
Often
here's what she
veterans
had to
whose
say.
NBA careers have already wrapped up. Ice Cube wanted Caitlyn Clark to become
Three.
the first female player
Like I mentioned
in
in
the
the
league
last
and was
video.
reportedly willing to pay her $5 million to make it happen. Here's
Three
what that
games
WNBA
with
player had
retired
to say during the
NBA
podcast
players.
discussion.
Open the article and you see what's his reasoning. He wanted to provide more opportunities for WNBA players and provide opportunities to not go overseas. So you offered the contract to a player who's not yet even in the WNBA.
If that same opportunity had been offered to Angel Reese, it's
If you
hard
had
to
given that
imagine there would have
opportunity
been
to
any
Angel Reese,
backlash.
she wouldn't
In
have had
fact,
it.
many people believe the reaction would have been the complete opposite. She likely
She would
would
have
have
kept
embraced
quiet.
it, maybe
Maybe
even
even
praised the offer publicly. Social media would probably have been flooded
On
with
social
posts
media
celebrating
saying
Ice
how
Cube
amazing
for
it is
supporting young
that Ice
women
Cube
fresh out of college and giving them a major platform. He would have been
was
hailed as a
supporting
hero
these
for
young
empowering
women coming
female
out of
athletes.
college and
But when the spotlight shines on someone not seen as being on that same level
But
of
if
star
you're not on
power
her
or
level,
impact,
making
suddenly
those big
the tone
plays.
shifts and the criticism gets louder. Now let's move on to Diana Taurasi.
about Diana
If you're
Taurasi.
unfamiliar with her,
If you
she's
haven't heard of
widely
her,
considered the greatest player in WNBA history. Currently in her
WNBA
20th
history.
season and playing into
Now in her
40s,
20th season.
Taurasi built a legendary career long before Caitlyn Clark entered the
Before
league.
Caitlyn Clark
Before
entered the
Caitlyn's
league,
debut,
Diana had some
made a few noteworthy comments about her. That brings up an interesting debate people have raised. If the narrative is about white privilege being the
Where's the
driving force
so-called
behind
white
popularity,
privilege?
then why didn't Diana Taurasi single-handedly elevate league viewership years ago?
Hey, if it's all about
Taurasi
white
is
privilege like
white,
they say.
and she has been dominating for 2 decades. If representation alone guaranteed
And they want to
massive
see themselves
audiences,
represented
wouldn't that
in the
have already
league or
happened?
whatever.
For 20 years, Taurasi has consistently performed at
I've
an
seen
elite
some of her
level.
highlights.
I've watched
She
some
plays
of her
like
highlights.
Kobe.
Her mid-range game and competitive fire even drew comparisons to
White
Kobe
privilege
Bryant.
is real.
She's won
Why
3
didn't she
national
become a superstar?
championships and built a Hall of Fame resume. Yet despite all that success,
total
the
snooze
league
fest.
never experienced
Nobody
the kind of
wanted to
sudden attendance surge we're seeing now. Some critics argue it's
But who
because
even
excitement, media timing,
She's not like
and
Caleb
personality
Moore.
all matter just as much as talent. Popularity in
I'm
today's
not sure,
era
but I
isn't
know
built
about
on
her.
skill alone.
For 20
It's
years,
fueled by storylines, momentum, and viral attention. There was even a moment
And
when
is shocked,
Taurasi looked
saying,
genuinely
"Oh my
stunned by the
God."
size of a recent crowd. Reports mentioned 17,000
Seats
fans
back there.
packing the arena,
17,000
one of the largest
people packed
audiences she had ever played in front of. She appeared amazed, commenting on how
She was
didn't even
completely
realize
shocked.
some upper
Couldn't
sections
believe all
existed
the-
because they had rarely been filled before. After the press conference,
she
expressed
was
gratitude,
like,
saying
"Wow,
she knew interest was growing but never imagined crowds of that size.
Up.
You could sense
This is the
a mix of
largest crowd I've
appreciation
ever
and
seen in one
disbelief.
place.
After spending nearly 2 decades building the league, She's now
Gratitude,
watching it explode
saying the
in
kindest
visibility
words
right
because
as
she
she
was thinking-
approaches retirement. That leads us back to Caitlin Clark. She's clearly making waves. She's
like this?
recording triple-doubles,
Where was
breaking
Caitlin when I was
records
coming
set by
up?
players she once idolized, and positioning herself as a
She's
serious
really
Rookie
making
of the Year
waves.
contender.
I mean,
On top of that, she reportedly secured a $28
and still on top
million shoe
as a
deal,
Rookie of the
a
Year
massive
contender.
milestone for any athlete, especially a rookie.
Is this
But
momentum
raises
ever going
bigger
to
questions.
stop?
Will the hype eventually slow down? Will
Think about
teams
her
stop
getting
guarding her
snubbed from
full
the
court
Olympic
every
team.
game? And what
They
about
said
her
they-
Olympic snub? USA Basketball stated they selected the 12
Because
best
she
players
hasn't
and
earned
felt
it
she
yet.
hadn't earned her spot
Despite
yet.
those 20
Still, many fans question that reasoning when arenas are selling out
30
with
at our
20,000
games.
spectators watching
Do you
her
think
play.
she's going to win
The
Rookie
Rookie of the Year debate between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese is another
of the
major
lead right now?
storyline.
But who knows?
Right now, some
I see
feel
this as
Angel
something
Reese has the edge, but the season is far from over. Anything
We
can
live in a
happen.
fast-paced
At the same
world
time,
where
we
people's
live in a
atten-
fast-paced world where attention spans are short. Trends
So
rise
yeah, this might
quickly
be huge
and
now, but it
sometimes
could
fade
taper
just
off.
as fast. It's possible the current frenzy could settle into a more
She'll
sustainable
still have
level.
that recognition
Maybe
and fame
attendance and
for the rest
viewership
of her.
won't return to pre-Clark numbers, but instead land somewhere in the middle.
The
No
WNBA
matter what
viewership
happens,
and game attendance will
Caitlin
level
Clark
off.
will always have her place in history. She's had a defining moment that changed the
finding a good
conversation
middle
around the
ground.
WNBA.
But
If her
it will
popularity
show the people
continues
who
to grow,
doubt her in the
it
league
will only
that
reinforce
she's
the
the real.
idea that she's a transformative player. And if it
More people keep
stabilizes,
supporting her,
she'll still
it
remain
will just
one of the most
prove that she-
recognizable athletes
Anyway, let
of
me
her
know
era.
what you think in
Either
the
way,
comments.
the impact is
I'd
real.
love-
What do you think about all of this? Is the momentum
Forget to
here
drop
to
a
stay?
like if you enjoyed
Should she
this
have made the
discussion.
Olympic roster? And who do you think will ultimately win Rookie of the Year?
Make sure to
Share your
subscribe.
thoughts. I'd love
Thanks
to hear your perspective. If you enjoyed this discussion,
for
drop
watching,
a like and
and I'll
subscribe
catch
to
you
stay
next time.
updated on more content like this.